Hey y'all, welcome to I Got a Story to Tell. I'm your host, Niambi Kiesha, holistic wellness practitioner, hoodoo spiritist, and Bronx native. And during our time together, I will share some of my musings on all things life, spirit, plants, and parenting. So get comfortable and let's dive right in. Okay, so welcome to another episode of I Got a Story to Tell, the Niambi Kiesha podcast. I am so excited to be here today. We are continuing our series on community building, what it means, why it's important, and specifically why it's important for us Black folks during this season and the times that we're finding ourselves in. So I'm going to go ahead and jump right in and introduce this week's guest. And so this week's guest is my girlfriend, my sister girl, Tamika Smith. And so Tamika and I go way back. I'm not going to tell y'all how far back we go, but I just heard that song in my head where it's like, we're going to go back, way back into time. Right? So me and Tamika go back to junior high school. That's how old we are because now y'all call it middle school, but it was junior high school. When we
They
were
do. They do. I didn't even realize it.
It was junior high school.
And it started at a different age.
It did different grade, different age. So even that's a good way because we're going to tie all into when we see shifts taking place in the world, right? And so if
Right.
we look back over history, there are some pivotal moments where life as we understood it, or life as those people understood it, shifted. And what
Mm.
prompted me to do this series and start the podcast with this series about community building was because I believe we are at one of those moments. I believe that
Hmm.
we are at a moment where life as we knew it is behind us.
It's shifting.
There is a new world order, for lack of a better word, that is being built and created. And we are individuals that find ourselves, myself and everyone that I'm bringing on as a guest, that find ourselves doing some type of work, spiritual work, community building work, gardening, homesteading, nutrition, martial arts. We are actively working to contribute to what the future will look like for our children
Mhm.
and our children's children. And I don't believe that that's by chance, right? So I believe
Right.
that we chose to incarnate in this time, in this season, because there will be those that will be born when a system is solidly in place and they will simply
Right.
live through it.
There
And
was that.
then there will be the change makers, right? The mavericks, the ones that are at the crux between when we talk about liminal space. What is the liminal
Right.
space when one thing ends and another thing begins? So before I go off on a tangent, um, so I wanted to bring our guest Tamika Smith on because she has an amazing story of growth, development, um, the ability to dream big and beyond current circumstances. I'm going to allow her to share her own story. But when I think about Tamika, I think of someone that has always lived on their own terms,
Hmm.
out loud, unapologetically
Breezy.
herself, right? And I said we went back to junior high school. So if you ask anybody that has known Tamika for a long time, they'll talk to you about her cutting the legs off of jeans and putting it on her head and making hair ties and wraps and hats. And she has creative energy and abilities. And I mean, just all things, all things. So we could not do a series on community building and how to move toward the future without having Tamika Smith. So welcome, Tamika.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Thank you for even thinking about me as, you have people in your lives that have been in your lives for years, and you don't really realize all the time what impact you made on them, or how they even looked at you, or how they felt about you, because it was just, we were friends, we were girlfriends, and that was just it. Like it was very normal for you guys to see me put a belt on my head and make it into a headband,
Right.
And I was literally just telling a friend, another person that I knew, that I was lucky enough to have girlfriends that celebrated that didn't look at me as weird. And that was exciting. And I told her that I was grateful, because I did have a group of sister girls that celebrated that. They did not call me weird. They didn't allow anyone else to call me weird or to make me feel like I was out of place. Never, ever once. And so I definitely appreciate that. But even growing up, I coming from the Bronx,
Mm-hmm.
I'll even tell you, Webster Projects. I remember coming out of the building and having to say excuse me to the drug dealers that were in front of the building just to get out the building.
Right.
I've seen some things that kids at that age shouldn't have seen. I was the youngest of 19 biological children,
Mm.
and then my mom adopted five under me.
Okay.
And
19 bio children.
yes,
Okay. And then five
that
under you.
so I
Adopted.
do
Okay.
come from a very large family. But I was the one that always thought outside of the box. My out was dance. In elementary school, I got into this program, and it was a dance program, and they handed out flyers for Harbor
Mm-hmm.
Dance Performing Arts, and I signed up for myself. My mom didn't sign me up, my dad didn't sign me up. I signed up, and they were like, "Oh, I'll take you."
Right.
And then,
So
you know,
Harbor School of the Performing Arts, that's the junior high school that we met at. So
yes,
you were in a dance program, right?
in
So
my elementary school.
in elementary school. So when we were in junior high school started at sixth grade,
Yes.
six, seven, eight.
Yes.
So in fifth grade, you were already charting your own course because you
Yep.
got a flyer and said, "This is where I'm going."
Yes, I didn't. I knew that I absolutely did not want to go to any of the junior high schools in my area. I knew that for a fact. Even the children around the area, I just didn't do the things that they did. I never even had a curfew, because there was no need. I never cut curfew.
Right.
I was upstairs when I was supposed to be upstairs. I didn't hang out when I wasn't supposed to hang out. And I was just very different from the people that I grew up with. I wanted something different.
So let me
And
ask
in
you a
order,
question. In your adulthood now, looking back on it, do you have, like, can you pinpoint where that came from? Was it just a fire? And not even where it came from, because I can imagine, and we'll talk more as we go along about my beliefs in terms of spirituality and how each child is born differently.
different. Hmm.
So I can imagine that that's how you were born. What I'm curious about is when you look back on it, can you pinpoint why the circumstances didn't suffocate you? Why weren't you scared? What part of you said, I'm going to apply for this school at fifth grade? Or what part, can you pinpoint that or do you reflect on that?
I will. I will say that being the youngest of those 19, well, altogether 19 children, support. I don't
Mm.
care what it was. I was the youngest. And when I say I was the youngest, my siblings that are next to me are 10 years older than me. So they always supported. And I guess they saw in me what they wanted for themselves. And so anything that I wanted, it doesn't matter what, my support system, my village was strong. Now that village might have been a little bit crazy and cracked up, but when it came to me,
Yeah.
And because I was focused on going in a direction, that support was there.
Yeah.
They were at every performance. They were at every, if I needed somebody to go to school because my mom or my dad or somebody couldn't go, somebody was always there.
Yeah. So I love that. I love that. And, when we got on before we started recording, I shared that, my choice of clothing today. I have on my ATR sweatshirt. You can't see it, but this is African traditional religion. Um, and we are a communal people
Yep.
at our core, even in the worst of circumstances, when we think about what our enslaved ancestors went through when they came here, the power was in us binding together. The other thing that came up for me when you shared that was I do believe that there are those of us that are intended to break the
The
line,
cycle.
break
Hmm.
the cycle, break
Right.
the curse, break the whatever. And so I don't believe that it was by chance that the baby that came
Mm.
10 years after the 18th was the one with all the fire and the chutzpah and the Aries and the dreams, because
Hmm.
spirit knew that if the 18 didn't do anything else, they were going to cover and protect
And
this
that did
one
it.
to bring it forward, right? And allow you to be the one that shifts the trajectory of not only your life, okay? So I'm a hoodoo spiritist and I practice hoodoo. And hoodoo teaches us that when we heal something in ourselves, we heal 7 generations back and 7 generations forward. So even to hear you share that my 18 saw in me what they couldn't live out. As you continue to live it out, you're healing it up for the 18, you're healing it up for
Hmm.
the ancestors before them. You're allowing their spirits to feel what
Right.
it is to live free, to create your own wardrobe, to dance, to express. You are doing the things that your line could not do. And so that is extremely powerful.
And I'm excited about it. And then it also allowed the five that came under me.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
They all look up. I'm the go-to person.
Mm-hmm.
I was the go-to person for a long time to a fault
Mm-hmm.
in some cases. I had to learn boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
Because I didn't know what those were because I always received, and so I wanted to be able to do the same thing for the five that came under me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it it looked different
Yeah.
giving it to them, than how I received it and how I took what I received and did, and took the path that I took. But I definitely see. And even when we talk, when I hang out with them now, and they go back in time, they talk about in the past. Oh, I remember when Tamika did, took us X, Y, and Z. But they also remember me being strict. But they also remember the fun. They also, one of my sisters told me, my younger sister said that she wrote a paper, or she told a person she wrote a paper, or she used to talk to her friend, and her friend told her, "How could Tamika be?" You always go, who was the strictest? Tamika. She was always strict and she always was on our case, but she was also my favorite person. She was also the person that I looked up to the most. Like, she was always my go-to person. How could that be the same person?
Mm-hmm.
And I just didn't know that she even felt that way about me. I just was doing the job.
Right. And because we know that a form of love is care and concern. Like sometimes, which this is a good segue to building community in the space that we find ourselves in. Um, and on the last episode with when I talked to Sensei Kwabin, my brother, he talked about how we are finding ourselves in a space where people are losing hope, where people are
Oh my
coping,
gosh.
where people are anesthetizing, whether it's with marijuana, drugs, alcohol, or whatever. And so sometimes we can be spiraling or doing something that we know we don't have no business doing. And the getting caught and getting corrected Now, I'm going to tread lightly here because I'm not talking about if you are listening to this and you were caught and corrected and it borderline child abuse. That's not what I'm talking about
Right.
because we know that we have that history in our
Hmm.
culture and our community. But discipline and abuse is two different things.
Two
And
different things.
discipline is a form of love and care. And oftentimes, if someone is spiraling, the spiral begins to go faster and faster. And sometimes they're just hoping somebody will pull them off the
Somebody reach
damn
out
roller
and that's
coaster.
right.
Right. And so it makes sense to me that you were, because they understood your love. Your discipline came with love for you to discipline and we're going to go someplace educational or for fun, or you're going to
Right.
have these experiences. They were able to connect the two.
Right.
So, talk to us about then how you go from that experience, youngest of 19, oldest of the five, dance school, junior high school, to your current space of you live in an area where you have a large amount of land. You've started gardening, you're homesteading. Talk to us about that journey and how you got here.
I That story always makes me laugh because I got here because so I moved where I'm at now, upstate New York. I moved up here because honestly, I had a baby late in life, like a crazy person. I
Like
was
an
40,
amazing person.
40, and um honestly, the parking tickets were kicking my butt. I was like, there's nowhere to park, and I'm tired of it. I racked up like $2,000. I was like, something has to give. It got to be something better.
Let me say
Um,
this before you finish your story. It's very real because they had a whole show called Parking Wars. So if you have been lucky enough to never live in some place where parking tickets, I remember when I still lived with my mom in the Bronx, I factored my parking tickets into my budget because I was bartending at
right.
the time. I got off at night and I knew there was no parking and I wasn't driving around for hours. So I factored in three to four $50 parking tickets because I was parking at the hydrant.
Right. I was parking at the hydrant. I had a little baby. It was cold. I couldn't walk. I lived in not in a great area. So
Right.
I would park and I just was racking up and I was like, it has to be something has to give.
I'm about
Um,
to get me a house with how much I'm paying.
yeah, I couldn't do it. Like I can't, I need a parking spot. Like it was literally, I need a parking spot.
Right.
And so I did, but I didn't want to move far from my parents and my family, and I needed a little bit of a cushion as well. They honestly, they were kind of draining me a little bit, but I needed a way to be able to still connect with them, but still find the peace that I needed.
Yeah.
And so moving upstate was great. How I got into gardening with you.
Yes. Tell the
We
story.
had everyone knows that all the children come home with like this gardening project where they either grow a bean or they grow a cucumber or things of that nature. And both your youngest, my baby Gavin, and Emery at the time, they had came home with a bean project. And here we are on the phone doing research, put it on the refrigerator,
Oh, yes. I remember putting it on the refrigerator because it's warm.
it's warm up there. And from that summer, when we did the research, I started running into a bunch. We were doing the research, and I started running into a lot of different YouTube channels.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, I could do that. Let me try it. And I got me a baby pool, and I put a squash in there, and I grew so much food that year that I was giving it away to my neighbor. I did not know what to do with it because I was just growing it, right? I learned that I like squash. Never had squash. I grew it. I learned that I like squash. Um, but and that's when I lived in a townhome. I had a small backyard. I said, okay, I need more space.
Hmm.
And my handyman that was working on a bathroom in that rental apartment, the rental place that I was living in, he comes to me and he goes, I'm working on a house that I think you would like.
Oh,
And and this house was nothing that I had researched. Not, when I say nothing, zero. of what I had researched, but
Hmm.
it was everything that I wanted and needed,
Right.
that I needed for the next part of my journey in homesteading and gardening. I never thought I wanted chickens. I never thought I wanted an entire garden. I never thought I
Mhm.
wanted an orchard. And now, if I don't even know what that is about it. I mean, I'm sitting in the room, you see all this light because I'm in my grow room.
Right.
And
Right.
I've started all of these fruits and vegetables, and just to have my hand in the dirt, just to be able to grow that food and bring it inside and say, oh my gosh, I did not buy any any lettuce this year
Hmm.
or for the entire summer, or having my daughter come outside and just in her pajamas and go into the garden and pick something out the garden. She likes little snap peas and she just eats it. That alone is just gratifying.
Wow.
That alone, where I do not have to worry about parking, where I do not have the biggest problem I have out here is maybe a beer coming out. But honey, I play my music so they stay away. So
Right.
I don't have to
Right.
worry
Right.
about
Right.
that. But just the peace, the quiet, being able to sit out on the deck and listen to the birds and sit down with my daughter and have a bird book and go, oh, what bird is that? And be naming birds. For the first time ever, I seen an actual woodpecker.
Mm.
An actual woodpecker. I was like, what? That's an actual woodpecker.
Right.
And you live to this age that we are at, and to say that I have never actually seen certain things, or I didn't know that this is how you grow this type of food, or this is where it came from. I remember when I first learned that, I first got my chickens. I
Hmm.
was excited. I got these chickens, and I was just like scared to crack the eggs because I was like, I don't want no baby chickens.
Right. Because I'm used to my eggs coming out the refrigerator at the supermarket.
Hello. Then I learned that you need a whole rooster to have a chicken egg. Like you're not gonna, if you don't have a rooster, you're just gonna have regular eggs. And of course when you think about it, okay, that makes sense. But the fact that I did not realize that, because that was not a reality for me. Like you said, we got our eggs out the
Right.
refrigerator from the store, but just to be able to go outside. Emery, could you go outside and get the eggs for me? Because we didn't get the eggs in today, and be able to share those eggs because we were getting the abundance of eggs, 13, 14 eggs a day, where we are able to just give it to people and send it out to our community. We have older neighbors and we're able to just sit. I tell them, sit your empty egg cartons on my front porch, and I
Wow.
fill them and I sit them back on their porch, and it's no charge. I don't charge for them. Why, because at the end of the day, if I come outside late from picking Emery up off the bus, my neighbor has picked Emery up off the bus.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, I got her. Don't run down, don't run. I have her, and it's all about giving back. Um,
Yeah.
and so homesteading and gardening and learning how to preserve my food, that's my happy place.
Yeah. So let's pause there for a minute because you touched on some good things. And so in the first episode where I did the intro about community and the importance of it, I talked about that. I talked about neighborhood community and the fact that there could be multiple different types of community because we come from a place of people where community comes natural. And in years
Right.
past, individuals may have lived in the same place for generations on generations,
Mm-hmm.
so the community was organically built. But then things have shifted. So, like you said, life court and capitalism, right? Because the reality is capitalism also required the police department to do more than just protect and serve. They needed to make money.
Mm-hmm.
And so they needed to
Yes,
make money by giving tickets because there ain't nothing else going on in New York City about them tickets other than money,
that's it.
right? But so there was a shift in what our communities looked like and why we moved away. Like I'm down in North Carolina. I moved away. Individuals move away. So we have to have a different level of intentionality around
Right.
building community. But I shared community with your neighbors. I'm so glad you shared that story because I said my neighbors they are one set of my community, right? So I have
Right.
my spiritual community, I have my yogis, but my neighbor has knows when my children are supposed to be coming home, knows my neighbors are aware enough of my comings and goings that they would be able to sense if something is off. But
Something's
I
off.
had
Right.
to build that. I had to be open enough, right? So my story
Yeah.
coming out of what I experienced in 2019. So the loss of my mom and ending a long-term marriage, I could have easily decided I don't trust nobody and I'm going inward, but that would
Right.
not have served me. So I appreciate you sharing that you did take a leap of faith and you went out into a completely different place, living a completely different lifestyle. But one of the ways that you've started to build community is you give as well as receive. And I said, I feel like
Right.
that's an important piece to community. We cannot just go into things saying, give me, give me, give me. Look
No.
out for my kids, help me, again, with my ATRs, African traditional religions, my practice is hoodoo. And hoodoo is based, the basis of our practice is ancestor veneration. And so it's
Right.
understanding that it needs to be a reciprocal relationship with our ancestors. So
Mm-hmm.
when I go to my altar and
Mm.
ask my grandfather to go
Yes,
forth
ma'am.
and cover his great grandsons, I go with a hot cup of green tea because that's
Because
what he
that's what he
likes.
liked. That's
I
right.
go with sweet potato pie because that's what he likes,
That's
even though my
right.
mother yells
My
at him
mama,
all
her
the
cup of
time.
coffee. I go to her cup of
So it
coffee.
has to be reciprocal. So
Yes.
the way you reciprocate this relationship is when the world lost their mind and was charging $150,000 for a carton of eggs,
Oof.
you were able to pour into your community. The other thing though that I do just want to raise up and just acknowledge, we talked about you being a line breaker. I just need you to know that you did the work already. For
Hmm.
you to say that your daughter goes outside and picks up snap peas, you've broken the line. You have done the work. You have broken the generational line of X, Y, and Z. So you should be proud of that. And I hope that you sit and revel in that because it takes courage, right? So even though you were a young child with big dreams, so many people, this might sound cliche, but they say how many dreams are in the cemetery, right? So there's plenty of people that came into this world with big dreams, but it takes courage, it takes tenacity, it takes persistence to act on those dreams. And
Yeah, I think you need to.
yeah, you
I think
need
you need
to.
to because you don't like, that saying of you have one life to live.
Mhm.
Actually, no, you have every day to live. You only have one time to die.
Right.
So I'm gonna need you to take that life and live it every day. I don't care how small it is, how large everything does not have to be a huge, large win. And I think that's what we kind of get wrapped up in as
Mhm.
well.
Mhm.
Oh, I'm not making, I didn't graduate college, I'm not making $100,000. Okay. That wasn't your path. Maybe you need to be doing something else. Maybe, we always feel like we have to be doing like these big grand things, and it's not always
And
the truth.
understanding that that is a tool of
Okay.
capitalism, but that's a tool of capitalism. That's a
Right.
tool of the media. That is a tool of creating hopelessness because if the only way you'll feel hopeful is if you reach this unattainable goal, then you always stay hopeless. And that is why
Right.
we're talking about
Right.
community. Because you need to be in community with a sister that can look at you and say, no, $100,000 don't have to be the goal. It can be the goal. It can be the ultimate goal. Let me put it this way. It can be a goal, but it cannot
Right.
be the end all be
The
all. It cannot
the
be
ego or the
your
end all.
personality. It cannot
Right.
be how you set your values, your worth, right?
Right.
But
Right.
being in community. So even when I think about community, we are of a sisterhood is five of us, right? we are our own community in that way, right? We are
Yes.
our community. We provide for each other in ways that nobody else could because we have connection, time, history, experience, our children, right? So we
Mm-hmm.
that. But then talk to us about the importance of building, I guess you could say, other small communities, maybe specific. I know you've talked about the gardening community or the farming or the homesteading or the groups that you join or the productions that you're doing.
Oh
Like,
my gosh.
talk to us
Crazy.
about how you build communities for each aspect of your life.
So I think when you are we always talk about finding your people, right?
Yeah.
Um, when you start to find your people, um, they don't always, and I'm learning that now. And at first I will tell you that I felt a little down about it because where I live, it's not a ton of people that look like you and I.
Okay.
And these people that I have met that looked like you and I pushed to try to get them to, because, that's what you
Right.
do, right? If it's 10 other people in the room and it's only one of us in the room, that's the person that you tend to, and it never seemed to, they were always I would still speak to them, but I felt like they weren't ready to step outside of that box. I guess that
Mm,
I would say that they were in. Maybe because of the community that they were born in and what they were raised up in, they weren't ready to step out that box. So I didn't push that. But I did embrace just those people that were interested in those things that I was interested in and the things that I was able to learn from those people. Um and I just did that and I was able to look past kind of what they looked like, for the lack of
yeah.
a better word. I'm gonna be
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah.
And
No.
that was the struggle for me, but I like the fact that I was able to meet certain people and get into gardening and I went to some homesteading. Oh, hi Tamika, how you doing? I'm going to a homesteading a urban homesteading fair. You want to go? Sure, I'll go. And I was able to meet other people there, and then you start to barter, and then
Hmm.
you start to say, I'm real good at growing, corn. I didn't know I was, but I'm good at growing corn. But I have a person up here that doesn't do corn really well, but they have peaches that they grow really well. And so a lot of the corn that I grew this year, instead of me keeping it, I gave to that person, and that person was able to give me peaches in return. So the whole bartering system and doing that community, was great. Working with the children, I let the kids come up to the garden, and I'm like, I have them plant stuff in the garden. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You know, a little labor, but
Right. Right.
they're
Right.
learning
Right. Right.
for you and stuff, and they're able. And I'm like, okay, well, that little spot is yours. So whatever you want to put in that spot, I let them put in that spot. And then they come by, guard. They'll do it. I have a couple of kids that's across the street. And he's like, I love to garden. You have a garden. And so now he has a couple of bags of actual potatoes. His thing is potatoes. So he has some grow bags that have potatoes in it. And so just being able to reach out to those that are interested in the same things that you are interested in, or even just learning some of the things that they are like, oh, I never thought that I can do that, and trying something new.
Right.
And they are, once they find out about it, because a lot of them never even heard of it.
Right.
They don't know what to do to even begin to start it. Where do I even look it up for? Like, where do
Yeah.
I go? How do
Yeah.
I start?
Yeah.
And so
So
it
this
was,
is really good. This is really good because it is showing that there is this common thread, right? So I have written down for myself, like, what are the tenets of community building, right? And so you're speaking as somebody that is building community, and what I shared was for individuals that are looking for community.
right.
My ideas were you need to find a place that feels safe and respectful.
Mm-hmm.
You need to find a community that has aligned values. Stop going places that are not in alignment with you. But I
Yes.
appreciate you sharing that, as Black folks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we think in our mind that our community needs to be a community of only other Black folks. Now,
Right.
there's a
Right. I
whole
agree. Right.
dynamic around that, right? I believe that there is something to be said for a community of Black folks. I do believe that.
I do. Me too.
But I also appreciate you saying, but should you find yourself in a space where the Black folks around you are not in alignment,
You're not ready.
do not feel safe, are not respectful, right? Because if they're not ready to step out of their comfort zone, and I experienced that, right? So I can be very esoteric. I can have some very spiritually out there ideas, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, oftentimes, my spiritual community is virtual. I don't have
Right.
a lot of
Right.
in-person spiritual community connectors around my hoodoo or my esoteric spiritual beliefs because a lot
Right.
of people around me, Black, white, Chinese, and Hispanic, can't get where I'm at.
Right. Right.
It's understanding it can be both and, right? And so
Yes.
there is opportunity when it comes to being aligned and moving in a common direction, gardening, homesteading for this community. These are the things that we need to be able to do together, and it needs to be respectful, which means if I am in community with white people, it cannot be white people that are racist.
At 100%.
That's not cool.
100%.
But it's you, I think you hit on, but again, that goes to your personality, right? Of being courageous, of not settling, right? Because you could have settled and forced community with the Black people where you live. But that would not have been a fulfilling community. That would not have been a well-resourced community. That would have been a community that would have cost you something. So I'm glad
Right.
that you
Right.
shared that. I'm glad that you shared that. So, the other thing that you shared that I think is important, and the reason why I'm doing this series is for the people, like you said, that just don't know where to start, don't know how to put a
They
seed
don't.
in the ground, don't know what to do. What advice would you give to someone that is like, I don't know what to do, but I know that something needs to change in my life? What would if somebody came to you and said that, what would you say to them? What would you offer them?
So if we are speaking of food security, right? Because right now food is a huge deal. It's so expensive. You know, I need to feed my family,
Right.
right? That's when the whole food preserving things, and these are things that you can do right out of the store, right? So a lot of people think because in order for you to garden, grow your own food, that you need to have this huge space. You do not.
Hmm.
I wish I can show. I wish I can get up and show you this back here, but you do not. All you need is some dirt
Hmm.
and a bag. You can grow your food in one of those bags that you get from Aldi's, from Walmart, from them
The
shopping
reusable
centers, that the
bags.
reusable bags. Put you some dirt in that bag and grow you some lettuce in that bag. Take a bean from, when you go to the store and them bags of beans are busted open.
Hmm.
Take you some of those beans and put it in that soil. You have beans for your family,
Right. Right.
and so think about it. You can do it, and you do not have to have a very large space. You don't have to have acres and things.
Right.
You can do
And you
this right in
don't
an
have
apartment.
to that consumerism idea, you don't have to go out and buy $150 raised bed and make it
No, you
all
do. I do not own
and
one.
make it
I don't own
TikTok
one.
ready. Right.
I
So
don't own
it's
one.
getting clear about what your intent is. If your intent is to feed your family, we just got a quick lesson in get a reusable bag, grab some beans from the busted bags, and put it in the dirt. But I'm glad the way you worded it. You said put it in the dirt. So for me, I'm always coming back to like my
I
spiritual
love me some dirt.
practices. We need to put our feet in the dirt. We need to
Yes.
reconnect to
Get grounded.
nature, our natural internal intelligence, and sometimes turn off. This has been a thread through these past few
Yes.
episodes, the need to disconnect sometimes because social media, TV, news, the radio, even listening to things, having a constant loop in your mind makes us
Right.
believe that we need more than we need, and that's where this spirit of excess comes from. Most people have
Yes.
more than they need across the board. We saw that with the
Yep.
pandemic. But let me tell you this about the pandemic: the toilet paper was gone, yes. I never felt chaotic. There was napkins, there was paper towel, there
It
was
was crazy.
washcloths and
I
soap.
never seen
Like
an
if
empty
I
shelf.
needed, huh?
I never seen an empty shelf
I
either.
never
So
seen an empty shelf.
I
Now, what
didn't.
I saw empty was what people were running behind, but I knew in my mind there's beans over there, there's vegetables over there, there's rice. Give me a 5 pound bag of rice and some beans, and we got dinner,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
right? So I
Absolutely.
appreciate you saying just start. That's what I heard you say.
Yeah,
Just
just start.
start. So
Yeah,
when we're talking
Dollar
about
Tree is
food
your friend.
insecurity, Dollar Tree.
Dollar Tree is your friend. You can go into Dollar Tree and they have those, those the stackable
Mm-hmm.
planters.
Planters. Mm-hmm.
Right. Dollar Tree has soil.
Right.
Dollar Tree has 4 for $1 packs of seeds.
So here I just got a thought in my mind, right? So Dollar Tree and Family Dollar, they get a bad rap, right? Which they should to an extent. When we think about some place being a food desert where communities don't have an opportunity to purchase
Right.
fresh food. And so when you go to a Dollar Tree, you only have either the canned section or the
Mm-hmm.
frozen food. I appreciate you highlighting that while you cannot purchase fresh food, you
You can
can
grow it
purchase what you need to
to
grow
grow
it,
it.
even from Dollar Tree and Family Dollar. And that's the information that we need to start getting out to our people. Listen, if you're not sure right now, still get your groceries, buy whatever you want to buy, but get that one little bag of seed and that little bit of soil, throw it in and don't worry about it and watch it grow. For me, that's what my journey has been. Like just the excitement of,
And I'm
every
excited.
year I'm like adding another thing because
Yes.
I added potatoes last year and the pure joy that me and my son had picking our potatoes, and then
It's
we came in the
amazing.
house and made home fries, cheese eggs, and sausage. And we ate our potatoes. So
It
it's just,
wasn't it great?
it was
It
amazing.
was the
It was
feeling of
amazing.
it.
And so just doing it is what I hear you say. And to me, I feel like that is the common thread from when we started your story, that where you have felt compelled to do it, to put the belt around your head, to go to dance class, to sign yourself up for a different type of junior high school, to stop paying parking tickets, to have a
Girl.
baby at the age that you were called to have it. I don't care what the doctors say about
Right.
it, right? But when you were called to do, you have done, and you didn't allow yourself to get paralyzed or analysis paralysis. And I think you are the prime example of what comes out of that.
Well, thank you.
So
But
share with our people. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I just want to offer this one last thing. For all of the people out there that do have EBT,
Okay.
EBT allows you to buy seeds. You can go out and buy you a lemon tree that grows in a pot. You keep it outside in the winter, in the summertime, and bring it in the house, and it will produce lemons for you. Anything that vegetables, I'm talking about vegetable plants, fruit
Right.
trees, you can buy with your EBT card. You do not have to have a ton of cash to do it. If you are on WIC, you can go to the farmer's market and
Hmm.
buy organic food for your children or for your home and take the seeds from those organic fruits and vegetables that you buy
Mm.
and plant those.
Right.
There's always ways to do it.
There's a way to
I,
do.
my homestead is called Rags to Riches, and it's Rags to Riches because I take things that are minimal, things that were broken down, other people trash, and I turn it into my riches. That is what my riches are. I do not spend a ton of money. I do not. I reuse everything. I go to flea markets. You go to Home Depot or Lowe's, excuse me, no Home Depot. You go to Lowe's
Mhm.
and you go to the back of the store where they have oops paint. You can get bare paint for $8 to $10 when that can of paint is usually $35 to $40. And
Right.
now you can take a chair or a pot or something that you had that needs to be refurbished and you use it, sell it, get you some money for it once you paint it up. You know, there's
Right.
ways that you do not have to spend tons of money
Hmm. Hmm.
to feed your family. There are ways.
Right. Yes.
So I just felt
Thank
like I
you.
needed to share
No,
that
I love
because,
that. I love that. The reuse and reduce. I love that you share. You can take the WIC or the EBT, go to the farmer's market because here in Charlotte, not only can you use EBT at the farmer's market, they have something called double points. So here, like if you have $12 on your EBT card, at the farmer's market, you can get $24 worth of food.
oh, nice.
Here in Charlotte, yep. You get
Wow.
double points on or double they call it double points, but basically you can get twice as much of the dollar value on the fresh food. But I like that you pointed out, and in all of that fresh food, you take those seeds and you
Seeds.
build it. And I think that's a good place for us to wrap up tonight, is that literally and figuratively, right? What seeds are we planting? We need to
That's
plant
right.
seeds of hope, seeds of nourishment, seeds of stepping out on faith. And this is where the community comes in, just bringing it back to the community piece. To be in community with someone like Tamika allows you to gain access to her knowledge, her information, if you in close proximity, her eggs, right?
And
But
anything
before you
else is right.
go wanting to take her knowledge, information, and her eggs, are you willing to get my niece off the bus? Because if you're not pouring in, if you're not contributing to keeping this cup overflowing, you will not be welcomed in the community for too long. That's a very important piece. When we talk about being aligned in values, part of community
Right.
is supporting the well-being of the community.
Of the community. Right.
Yeah.
It's like compound living, right?
Right.
Um,
Right.
and a lot of people talk about it. Um, but a lot of families don't do it because they don't want to do the work, or a lot of friends and fam don't want to necessarily do the work. Like compound living is amazing. Like if you think about what actual compound living is,
Hmm.
you don't necessarily, I mean, you can go and come as you please because you know your children and your family is always going to be taken care of. And I have sugar, maybe you have milk, and
Right.
we're gonna have breakfast together. It's because we don't have, but people have to want to do the work.
Right. And I think
And I feel like that's what's missing.
understand the benefit, right? Because
Right.
it is a benefit of, like we said, the example of people being able to help out with childcare, because the cost of childcare is
Oh my gosh.
astronomical
It's
in this country,
ridiculous.
but also relationship, right? Because when you are in compound living, you have somebody to talk to. You have somebody to maybe go on a walk with you in the morning and have your coffee. There is a loneliness epidemic in our country right now.
I agree.
And that is why community is also so important. And so you just hit on so many things about family, community, neighbors, sharing of resources, but being willing to do the work, being willing to pull your own weight. But I really feel like we are shifting into a
I
season
see it. I
where,
feel the same
right,
way.
community is going to be important. Being able to rely on each other, support each other, share resources, information, protect each other, love each other. And so I think having conversations like this is what is important to raise that up for those individuals out there that are like, I just don't even know where to start. So,
And there's places. There's
exactly.
so
Well,
many.
there's places. That's a good point. Do you want to tell us where we can find Rags to Riches Homestead?
So I was just talking to this young lady, and she was like, "Well, I sent a video," and she was just like, "Where's the YouTube channel? And where's the?"
She
So I
surely
just
did.
started the YouTube
She surely.
channel. It's called Rags to Riches Homestead. It is on YouTube. My Instagram, by the way, I need to talk to you about that because they kicked me off.
Okay,
They,
we'll visit. Instagram get a little dicey, but
yeah, they're a little bit funny with me, but
well, let's do
um,
so. Rags
and
to Riches.
Homestead is on my YouTube channel. Rags to Riches is RAGS, the number two.
Okay,
Riches, RICHES, Homestead. And my email is rags to riches homestead at Gmail.
okay, and I
I
to put
do
that in.
answer my email. I check my emails on a daily basis.
Okay,
Um, because I do have, I sign up for, and what I will do is I share information about, you know, if certain libraries are having free seed halls where you can go to the libraries and get free seeds.
okay,
I do share those things as well. So I'm building my social media platform, and
yes,
I am finding that um, people are receptive to it. People
mhm,
love to see. Do I have? I think I have a TikTok as well. I did the TikTok as well. So
okay,
it's the same thing, Rags to Riches Homestead, and people are excited to see the end result. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to see what, your peppers look like at the end of it all. And
right.
so I'm excited about this journey. I'm excited about this part of the journey because up until our last conversation about me starting the social media, it was something that I said I wanted to do. I never fully did it. Um, and I did these things for myself, right? And I shared it with you guys. I shared it with people that I knew, but not the world. And you're right. We are now living in times where these things need to be shared. You
Mhm.
have so many single parents out here that are just trying to make it and they don't know how to take the next step.
Yeah,
Building these communities will allow them spaces to come into and be able to vent and share their experiences and allow somebody to say, listen, we talked about EBT. A lot of people probably didn't even know that they can go buy fruit trees and stuff with
right.
EBT cards.
Yeah.
And so being able to have that type of access to that information is important.
It is. And
um
that's why I definitely encourage you to start your social media because we do have the privilege of being in a time and space where we can reach the masses, right? And so
right.
I also love, and that's why I'm so excited about doing this series because there's more than one way to skin a cat, right? And so there are people that are not going to resonate with me, but there are people that are going to resonate with you. There are people
Would
that
you
are going to
guess?
resonate specifically with your story of being 19, of 18, the oldest of five, coming from Webster Projects, moving
Hmm.
purely because I was done with the parking tickets, having a child at an older age, and still moving through life and chasing your dreams. That is your story. And there's
Yes, it
somebody
is.
out there that needs to hear that very story. That's the power that those of us that are doing this work in this season, that's the power that we have, that we all echo our voices out. And then those that are intended to hear our voice and our voice resonate with
Right.
will make their way to us.
Well, I appreciate you for stepping out and doing your first live. And being able to share your story as well, because you sharing your story and sharing your journey has allowed, I will just say me, because my spirit, that the things that I were feeling or I was researching, I now have somebody to talk to about,
Mhm.
that I didn't know I had somebody to talk to about. And it was like, oh my gosh, you do that too? And where your journey is way further than mine in this realm, I still appreciate being able to pick up my phone or send you a message or say, Niambi, I know I ain't just see what I just saw
Right.
walk
Right.
down the steps to my house. Remember, I was like,
Right.
okay, I know I'm not crazy.
Right.
I know I saw what I saw,
Community.
and I'm not
Community to be able
crazy,
to have somebody to say, no, you're not.
right? And I appreciate you for being that person. And I appreciate you for stepping out and understand, realizing that this is what this community needed, and
Yeah.
moving forward with this. I'm excited to see
Yeah.
all that you are about to accomplish, because you are amazing. I tell you that all the time.
I
And I'm not being
appreciate it.
biased. I
Right.
really, no,
No, I
biased a little bit,
appreciate it. I
but
appreciate my tribe. I know what community has meant in my life and the life of my children, and the life of my family. And that's why if I could get, it's like you get a car, you get a car, you get a community, you get a community, you get a tribe,
yes.
you get a tribe. Because if we got it, it's no stopping us. And that's what I know for
Oh
sure.
my gosh. Do
Yeah,
you see that vision? Does it like crowd your head? Because it
I
crowds my
see it.
head.
I see it
It
clearly.
crowds my head. I'm
Yeah.
like, just people, just come
Yeah.
on.
But that the thing I would say is, again, I believe there are more seeking it out than not. I feel like the
I
noise,
agree.
media makes the noise of those that are not. And that's fine. There are some people that will be lost and that will remain lost. But I believe there are people wanting this type of
Yep.
conversation, this type of information. I can use my EBT cards in Dollar Tree. I don't have to go and buy the hamburger helper. I'm not judging hamburger helper because I eat it, but you don't got to have it every day
No, you
because you
don't.
can go to this section and get some seeds and grow a tree and have your child go outside and pull a piece of fruit off of the tree, and that
That's
is
right.
within reach. And so I think
It's
it's
very much so.
for people to hear us say it. We're relatable. We are faces and energies and stories that people can connect to. I think that's where the power is.
Me too. I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
We're,
So,
I would like to say we are normal, right? We're
we
like
are normal.
normal. Normal human beings that are raising our children. We're not rich, we don't live fancy, smancy lives.
Just two girls from the
We are
Bronx.
normal. Two girls from the Bronx
Two girls from the Bronx.
making it.
Making it. Well, I love you, my friend.
Mm,
I appreciate you. And until next time, thank you for joining this episode.
absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
I Got a Story to Tell podcast. We'll be back next week. We love you, Tamika.
Have a good night, everyone.
All right. Good night.